Today I'm going to break down the Holy Trinity and why there really isn't one in the 4th generation. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible because in reality, this could be like a 40-minute long video, and I know you have better things to do. So first, I'm going to get you acquainted with the term Holy Trinity, which is a term that was given to the 3 biggest girl groups of the 3rd generation, that being Blackpink, Twice, and Red Velvet. At one point, IOI and GFriend were also kind of like in that discussion, but by the end of the generation, it was solidified to be Red Velvet, Twice, and Blackpink. Well, why is that? Why did they become the 3 biggest girl groups? Well, I think there's 3 main criteria. 1, you have to be popular. I feel like popularity is unfortunately probably one of the biggest things that has to do with being part of the Holy Trinity. I honestly personally think it is the next point, but popularity is a big factor. The next point is music quality. You have to have at least good enough to decent music quality or better. Obviously, I think when you compare the 3, a group like Blackpink's discography might not stand up to a Red Velvet, but I think they had good enough music that attracted a lot of people. So the music quality to at least some person out there subjectively has to be good. And then finally, I think they also have to have a good amount of influence in the industry too, which all 3 of those groups definitely influenced a generation. Twice was the nation's girl group. They pumped out quality after quality cute concept and then ended up turning their focus to a more mature concept later down the line. Red Velvet really stoked the flames of creativity with their red and velvet concept, and Blackpink essentially pioneered the modern day girl crush concept and had so many groups trying to copy them from 2016 to 2019. So why isn't there really a Holy Trinity of the 4th generation? The 4th generation started around 2018 or 2019 and has persisted until today in 2023, meaning depending on who you ask, the 4th generation has been going around for 4 to 5 years. Now, K-pop has blown up globally since then, which has led more companies to debuting more groups, and I would argue that there is way more competition now than what there was back in 2015, 2014. There are so many groups that I could talk about being part of the Holy Trinity, and a lot of people in the comment section of the community board post that I posted talked about the 4th generation coming in waves, right? There's a certain waves throughout 2018 to 2020, and then 2020 to 2022, and now 2023 and 2024 potentially. It almost feels like there's multiple mini generations within a generation of K-pop, and it's because so many groups have been debuting with different concepts. I want to say that the Holy Trinity is way more subjective from person to person than I think the mass community wants to admit it is. Like, one of the options under that community board post was other, so you could put in a comment what you thought your Holy Trinity was, and there was so many different responses to what people thought their Holy Trinities were. I saw so many mixes. Like, I saw someone, I think, say like New Jeans, ITZY, and like ITZY. Like, it was completely different. Now, I don't really want to give a ton of value to the meaning Holy Trinity because really what Holy Trinity is there for is sparking debate amongst the community. At the most, it's really just an argument starter. But I do think that the Holy Trinity term has been devalued in the 4th generation to basically be what are my 3 favorite girl groups and not who the 3 most influential, popular, and best groups are. So let's first take a look at some of the bigger 4th generation girl groups that have existed and why they may or may not be part of this Holy Trinity, and then we can lead into some of the newer artists in the direction going forward. First, I want to talk about Stayc, who's a group that isn't really mentioned a ton when talking about the Holy Trinity, but at one point, a lot of people thought that they were going to be the next big thing. I even at one point said they were going to be the next Twice. I know, flame me in the comments, but at one point after their Stereotype comeback, I was like, yo, they have the potential to take over that niche in the market again. And since then, they really have not done that. As I'm recording this, they're coming back with another comeback on the 14th, I believe, with Teddy Bear, and I'm very excited for that comeback. I love Stayc. I love the members. They're one of the few 4th generation groups that actually sings live. Oh my goodness, they don't lip sync every stage. I think their concept fits them really well, and I think they have a very good discography, but I don't see a lot of people talk about them, and I think it's because the Run to You and Beautiful Monster eras were disappointing for a lot of people compared to their debut and ASAP and Stereotype. During the Beautiful Monster comeback, we saw a mass exodus of the fandom, which was just incredibly weird. It wasn't just like, oh, a few fans left. It was like a movement at one point. Like, people were leaving in droves, which was just so weird to me that they could just flake on a group after 2 okay comebacks. That's where the term switching up came from with fourth generation girl groups, which I'll get to a little later. Stayc is maintaining their popularity decently well, and I think they do have a bright future ahead of them with a dedicated fan base, but I don't know if I would put them in my Holy Trinity. ITZY is really divisive to talk about because any way I talk about them, people are probably going to hate on me because I just really don't love ITZY's recent direction with their music, whether it be Sneakers, Boys Like You. I was not a huge fan of Cheshire. But in my opinion, ITZY, for me personally, subjectively speaking, has never really been up in the scene. They've never really hit me with a comeback that really made me love the group. Wannabe was the closest thing. I did really like that comeback, and they do have some fantastic B-sides in their discography, and they are massively popular. They sell hundreds of thousands of albums. Like, they financially help JYP. They have very talented live performers, and I really love the members of the group. I own like 4 albums myself, so I can't say I hate them. But I personally just don't really like their discography that much, and a lot of people have kind of shared a similar opinion of recently. I think a lot of it has led to a lot of unnecessary hate towards the group. I think there's been a good amount of hate sent towards ITZY over the last year. I don't agree with that hate, but I do think there is some valid criticisms of their music recently, and I think that is a bigger thing with JYP rather than just ITZY, because JYP has his grubby little fingers in NMIX too, and it's not working out too well so far. I made a video a while ago talking about how I thought ITZY was falling off, and I still kind of reflect those opinions. However, I do want to rephrase it in saying that ITZY's music quality has definitely, in my opinion, gotten worse, but it's really up to the person to determine whether they're falling off or not. I can understand why someone would want to put them in their Holy Trinity, but in my opinion, their concept was flaked on after a while by the company. Their music quality is not good enough for me, and while they do have the popularity, I just don't really think they have anything else going for them. Aespa is such a weird creation by SM. Their Kwangya concept with the metaverse and their AI, versions of the members is, I guess, cool on paper, but in practice, it just has not turned out very well. I do not talk to a lot of people who like their concept at all. It drags down a lot of the lyricism in their songs and a lot of the concepts they go for. Aespa has truly dived into some hyperpop elements when it comes to K-pop, which is really interesting, and I think hyperpop is something that should be used more in the genre. But unfortunately, Aespa does not get enough music to really solidify themselves as leaders of the fourth generation. I mean, they have 1 EP and 1 mini album, and their recent mini album had 6 songs that we had already heard, including the title track. So it had 3 new B-sides on it, and 2 of the B-sides were incredibly forgettable, and one of them, Illusion, is a fan favorite, but I personally do not like it. Their debut EP was pretty good, but besides that, I think Aespa has been a victim of poor marketing by their company. I also think the company's done a poor job at managing scandals involving some of the members. Aespa is in a leaking boat, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they could be able to recover themselves. They're having a comeback soon. We don't know too many details on it. Apparently, it might be a full-length album, which is promising, but we're going to have to see. G-Idol is one of the few groups I'll talk about here that consistently puts out interesting concepts and good music. Even after going through the turbulations of losing a member halfway throughout their discography, they still were able to recuperate and have 2 of their best comebacks afterwards. I think the members are super likable. I think that they're good performers live. I think their company hasn't fucked up too much in handling them outside of a few things. My one big grievance with them is that I just do not really think their albums are all that amazing. I Never Die is probably my favorite album from them, and to be honest with you, that one has some misses on it. So I think they could do better when it comes to their depth and their B-sides, but for the most part, they have a banger discography of title tracks. And I could definitely consider them being 4th gen Holy Trinity material. It's just whether or not they can kind of leapfrog the popularity of the newer rookie groups who are dominating right now. G-Idol is like that old veteran you forget about in basketball, but is like really, really good. I would say a good comparison right now would be someone like Kawhi Leonard. Like, not enough people talk about Kawhi Leonard, and he's a veteran, but he's still really fucking good. ITZY is someone who a lot of people also talk about being fourth generation leaders, and that's weird to me because ITZY was a produced group that lasted like 2 years and disbanded, right? They have been part of the fourth generation for about half the time it's been around. So to say they're part of the Holy Trinity to me doesn't make any sense because they haven't been there for half of the generation. Don't get me wrong, they were immensely popular. I would argue top 4 when they were a group. They have a great discography. It's just whether or not they're inspirational or not. And Lightsome kind of sounded like they were going for a ITZY sound for a little while, and IVE has definitely picked up that somewhat elegant concept they were going for. But I think IVE has taken that in a new direction. I don't think they make ITZY music. I would love to say ITZY is part of the Holy Trinity because I do love the group, but they haven't been around for half of the generation. And a lot of newer rookie groups are diverging their musical sound, and I'm all here for it. So I don't really think ITZY should be part of the Holy Trinity. Maybe if you're doing it by like waves and they're part of the first wave of the Holy Trinity, but you know. Now let's talk about the newer rookie groups such as IVE, LE SSERAFIM, Billy, New Jeans, CSR. All of these new rookie groups have incredibly high quality music. Like, they are pumping out legit quality over quantity. I want to make that very apparent to listeners. Here's the thing, longer albums in K-pop are just straight up dying out. Not even with rookies, for experienced groups as well. They're just not pumping out albums anymore. This has also happened in the social media age with Western pop too. They moved into the social media age where it was more meant for streaming and less high quality music. Now that doesn't mean that high quality music doesn't exist in the Western pop scene anymore, but K-pop is headed towards that route of making streamable music that is replayable. We see that in the length of new songs being under 3 minutes long to some extent. We see mini albums getting shorter and shorter, and at this rate we're going to see specific labels and companies stand out for producing good music while simultaneously being streamable. A good example is New Jeans. They have like 6 songs total, and like 4 of them are like 8.5 out of 10 or better and are very streamable, very replayable. IVE have a really fantastic 3 title track run that is pretty damn undefeated by any other rookie group right now, but a big detriment to them is that they don't even have an EP. They have 3 single albums, which is, in my opinion, in the long run, a detriment to the group. LE SSERAFIM has been able to wield a new-found confident concept while introducing new flavors of music back into the genre with their Anti-Fragile mini album. Their debut Fearless mini album had some amazing B-sides on it. CSR are like the second coming of G-Friend. They make like really good early G-Friend music. Let me sit down and talk to you for a sec about Billy. Billy is incredible. Their music quality is so damn high compared to a lot of other 4th generation girl groups right now. It is insane. It is one of the best rookie discographies I have ever seen in K-pop. It is damn near flawless. It's insane. They have 3 mini albums, and Mystic Story has clearly taken a consistent quantity with a good dosage of quality. Mystic Story has proved that companies can sit down and take the time to craft good music for their rookie artists and their 4th generation artists in total that isn't 100% streamable. It's not meant for, Spotify and streaming a million times. That's not what Billy's music is crafted for. Like, I love New Jeans. I love them to death. I love their music. They're one of my favorite groups out right now, but their music is literally made for streaming. Like, oh my God. Hype Boy, Attention, those are stream songs. You sit down and you play them multiple times over again. Ditto, maybe not so much, but the rest for sure. Billy, I don't see someone sitting down and listening to Ring My Bell 5 times in a row, or like their debut Ring X Ring. That's not a stream song. But I think that you're going to see companies like Mystic Story separate themselves from the rest of the pack in the new age of K-pop as being companies that you want to go to look for good quality music. Newer groups are able to release music more consistently at a high pace because they are younger. Groups are getting younger. They're able to promote more because, look, I'm not gonna lie. When you're like 16, 17, 18 years old or even younger, you got a lot of pep in your step still. look, I'm going to turn 21 this year, and I know that's supposed to be the prime of your life, but seeing as my family has had health issues in the past, I'm already starting to experience fucking sore ass joints and even a little bit of like minor arthritis. Like, for a lot of these tenured K-pop idols that are like, 23, 24, 25, they have tread on their tires, is what we say in football, right? Like, a running back gets tread on their tires, and at one point they run out of gas, they run out of fuel. We see a lot of groups disband after 6-7 years, especially in the fourth generation. We've seen groups disband even earlier, and these newer groups, they're so young that they can come back in a 3-month span. And the scary part is like, they're pumping out good music. I think people are in complete denial when it comes to a lot of these rookie groups. They want to act like these rookie groups don't pump out good music. LE SSERAFIM, IVE, NewJeans, Billy, they're eating right now. Their music quality is way better than most of the competition. It's a hell of a lot better than Aespa, hell of a lot better than ITZY. Sorry, fans out there, I'm just gonna be real with you. Billy fucking clears by a million miles and more. And that's what leads me to the term, like, fans are switching up. I don't think fans are necessarily switching up. I do think there's maybe one or two here or there that are switching up because, they're getting bored with their group or whatever. But I think fans are finding where the good quality music is going. Like, I know K-pop is an industry full of giving idols attention and liking groups for more than just their music. But when it comes to music as a entertainment medium, people follow good music. It doesn't matter where it goes, they will follow. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. ITZY, and to even some slight extent, Stacey's recent comebacks have been a bit disappointing compared to their earlier stuff. So of course some of their fans are going to go and check out newer groups like LE SSERAFIM and IVE and NewJeans that are on hot streaks right now. Like, of course they're gonna go check them out. And why are people like out here like blaming them for doing it? It's like, you want to expand your reach and I encourage people to become a multi-stan. Stan more than one fucking group. Like, go and listen to other people's music. Don't just listen to Aespa's music. Don't just listen to Everglow's music. Don't just listen to Stacey's music. Listen to multiple groups' music. And if people say you're switching up because you start standing another girl group when you were standing ITZY, bro, don't even fucking listen to them. There is no Holy Trinity in the fourth generation right now because of A, how many groups there are, B, how many groups there are that make great fucking music, C, how many groups there are that are popular, and D, the lack of a large discography for a lot of the groups that are dubbed being part of the Holy Trinity. I'm looking at most of the rookies here. By the end of the fourth generation, which should be within about a year or so when the fifth generation starts, we may look back and we may be able to pick out a certain Holy Trinity. I know some people are going to run to that conclusion, right? But I think everyone's Holy Trinity is going to be different because so many K-pop fans got into K-pop during the fourth generation. There's going to be a lot of bias involved, a lot of skewing. Red Velvet, TWICE, and Blackpink specifically stood out so much amongst their peers that it would be silly not to crown them the Holy Trinity, right? You had some other candidates who maybe gave them a slight argument like GFriend and IOI, but for the fourth generation, there was like 10 groups minimum that I would consider being part of the Holy Trinity, and there's just never going to be a concrete conclusion. And I don't think there needs to be. I think we need to drop this Holy Trinity term because all it does is start arguments. I'm sure there's going to be arguments in the comment section, and there was arguments in my community board post. Like, all it is it's just an argument starter, sometimes a simple debate starter, but more or less it's a term that is meant to separate girl groups as being better than others, when in reality, guys, music is just fucking subjective. It doesn't even fucking matter. You can hate Blackpink's music, you can hate TWICE's music. Yeah, TWICE and Blackpink and Red Velvet inspired a lot of groups nowadays, but so did IOI and GFriend, and they're not part of the Holy Trinity. CSR is the second coming of GFriend, and I'm sure a lot of their music was inspired by GFriend's early music, but GFriend wasn't part of the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity will die in the fourth generation. The term will probably never be used again unless the fifth generation repeats the third generation, and I'm happy, because I don't really give a fuck about the Holy Trinity, and I don't really think you should either.